Well, let's keep the conversation going. Joining us live now is the former congressman for the state of California, Mike Garcia. It's good to talk to you this morning, sir. Good afternoon your time. So day 4 is upon us. So far, thankfully, according to these live pictures, it is a whole lot quieter than it was yesterday. But what are your thoughts on what's happened in your state, where you were born, that you represented, and now where you live?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen this before, and it would be nice to have a governor, frankly, that's as tough on criminals and holding them accountable as he's trying to be against the White House in this case. Look, we've had protests which were peaceful, and that's fine. Nothing is wrong with that. That's a First Amendment right guaranteed to American citizens under the Constitution. But when they devolve into riots, it devolves into what you've seen, which is literally police cars being stoned, 3 police officers being hurt. Being put into effectively deadly environments, you do need to have a reinforced presence to make sure that this is put down quickly and that these riots don't escalate to something that we've seen similar to in 2020 and also back in 1992 in the wake of the Rodney King riot. So, look, anyone who's offended by the presence of additional law enforcement officers or National Guardmen in the midst of a riot, they themselves are likely the criminals. And it's astounding to me that the mayor and the governor are more offended by the actions being taken by the president than they are by these criminals who are harming our law enforcement officers. I don't think it's a question of does the president have the authority to do this? He does. It's a constitutional right that he has given its defensive homeland. And this is effectively the seeds of an insurrection on our own ground here. That's an important academic debate. To me, the very real question is, why doesn't the governor want National Guard and additional support? Why are you threatened by this when ultimately they are meant to bring peace and stability to our city streets? And as a former veteran, for Karen Bass to say that the presence of troops is provocative, no active duty member of our military wants to engage our civilians. They don't want violence. They're there to deter the violence and keep the peace.
Mike, much of this, or all of it really, is based on illegal migrants. But what do you think should happen to those who might have arrived in California illegally years ago, but have since led law-abiding, productive lives, formed families, taking jobs that employers usually struggle to fill?
Yeah, and this is the great irony and frankly tragedy. You know, my last name is Garcia. My dad was born in Mexico. He immigrated here legally in 1959. I'm a first-generation American. I actually support what's called the Dreamers Act, which gives a path for folks who were brought here in the 80s and 90s, a path to citizenship. But the unfortunate reality is under the President Biden administration, over that 4 years, we had an additional 12 to 14 million people come across our borders. These aren't necessarily just Mexicans. It's literally from every country on the planet coming across our borders illegally and then assimilating into our country. That represents about 5% of our population that is here now illegally. So unfortunately, it's actually the worst thing for those dreamers, the people that were here for several years, maybe decades, because now we have to figure out how to adjudicate all of this. And many of them are criminals. And that's frankly what the Trump administration is looking at, is how do we get rid of the criminal element.
So where do you think the line should be drawn, Mike? You know, if they are all illegals, if there is a bunch of illegals who have gone on to live productive lives, where do you draw the line as to who stays and who goes?
Well, for me personally, anyone that came across in the last 4.5 years illegally is fair game for immediate deporting, unfortunately. I think it was enabled by the federal government. It needs to be now enforced and rectified by our federal government as well. And we can look at case by case for time periods before that. But we don't know who's in our country, and that is a huge problem. That's called an invasion, and we need to get a good accounting of everyone that is here.
All right, that's the former congressman for the state of California, the great state of California, Mike Garcia. Good to have you with us this morning, sir. Appreciate it.